This is a guide to adding a simple qualification in Parnassus. You need to navigate to the qualification page. Then you can hit the Add New button to start creating your qualification. There are mandatory fields on this page: the qualification title, the qualification code, and the qualification approval. These are shown by the red asterisk. So we're going to create the qualification title. Here. If you were to fill in the certificate title box, then this is the wording that will appear on the certificate. If this is not filled in, then the qualification title at the top will appear on the certificate. The qualification code is an internal code. So we'll just fill that in, usually something short. And for this qualification, I'm going to make it a credit base, so I'm going to tick here. And that then enables some other tabs to come up, like the credit base tab. And if I save this so far, I'm going to get an error because I need to add in the qualification approval date. It's a mandatory field, so I'll do that now. And pop a note in. And confirm that that's correct. Now I'm going to save the qualification, and more tabs appear where you can fill in things like the qualification grading. As this is a simple setup, I'm just going to set this to make it a pass and fail qualification. And now I'm going to add some units to the qualification. The first unit group I'm going to add, I'm just going to simply call it mandatory. And give it a group code of mand1. And then I'm going to add another unit group. I'm going to call this one optional, with a code of opt1. Now I can either assign an existing unit that's already set up, or I can create a unit for this qualification. For the mandatory, I already have a unit set up, so I'm going to pick this Air1 unit, and then on the optional group I'm going to pick one existing unit, and I'm going to create a unit as we go along. So by adding a new unit, I'm going to call this one give it an internal code. I'm going to set its level to level 1. I'm going to set the assessment type to internal. It's going to be a credit based unit, and its credit value is going to be 2. And if I save this, I can then add in other features. For now, to make it simple, we're just going to add a grade which is going to be pass or fail. And now we'll close that, and we have a qualification with 3 units. We have 1 in the mandatory group, 2 in the optional group. Now we need to go into the Rules of Combination tab to set up how the qualification will run. So in this tab, we're going to say that the minimum units required are 2, and we're also going to set the maximum to 2 to make it simple. And the minimum credit for this qualification, we're going to have a mandatory unit and an optional unit, and that will make a credit value of 4. So we're going to put that the minimum credit is 4 and the maximum credit is 4. If you have more optional units that are allowed to be taken, you can obviously set the maximum units and maximum credit higher. So for the mandatory group, we're going to include on the pathway UA1, and we must say, if we want this to be mandatory, that it is by ticking the box here. The minimum units in this group are 1, the maximum is 1, and the minimum credit is 2, and the maximum credit is 2. For the optional group, we will include UA2 code and UA4 code, but these units are not going to be mandatory, so we're not going to tick this box. And we're only going to allow the learner to have one of these units, so we will still set this as a minimum and maximum of 1 unit, and the credit gained will be 2. Minimum and maximum. Now we can save this. We have a pathway, we have a qualification. So a good thing to do when you're setting up a qualification, you can use the check rules of combination button up here, and sometimes if you've not set something up quite correctly, this will give you a clue. So we have success for most of them, but actually it's telling me here that the qualification credit value hasn't been entered because I've got a fail, and that one pathway's credit value equals the qualification credit value. So basically from that I can see that the actual qualification, the credit value hasn't been set. So if we go into the credit base tab, we can see there is no credit value set. So we're going to put it's worth 4 credits. We have 2 from the mandatory units, 2 credits from the optional units, and the qualification is overall worth 4. And if we save that and then check the rules of combination again, we now have success for all of the checks. This doesn't guarantee your qualification will work the way you want it to fully, but it's a good idea to use this check. And that is how you set up a qualification with credit in Parnassus.